Pterodactyl here. Today's video is going to be about swapping out a plastic transmission for a metal one and what it's going to take to do that. And there's a lot to know and a lot to go over, so you better pay attention. So as you can see, we got 4 tractors here. And out of these 4, 3 of them have plastic transmissions. Now, there's an expensive way to do this, and there's an inexpensive way to do it. The inexpensive way would be you would have to have a junk tractor with a good transmission in it. The other way is the more expensive way, which would be to buy a brand new transmission and all the components to transfer it to the tractor that's got a plastic transmission. And that could cost as much as $1,000. So again, 2 options. Donor tractor with a good trans or brand new. Now, if you look here, we got an Aaron's. This isn't an Aaron's. It says Aaron's, but it's not. This is actually a Husqvarna. Private labeled for Aaron's, which was a bad idea. They didn't do it very long, and they stopped doing it. And you know how I can tell? Because under the seat is a sticker, and it says right on there, Husqvarna. So this is actually a Husqvarna. Now, this is a Husqvarna with a metal trans. This has got a Tuff Torq K46 BT. Not to be confused with BTO, Bachman Turner Overdrive. This one's a K46 just with Bachman and Turner. No overdrive. Now, this is the model tractor that you would have to have as a donor. This YTH22V46. 22 horsepower, vertical, 46-inch deck. They also have this same tractor under the Craftsman name. Husqvarna made it for Craftsman. And you see this sticker? You can get this in our online store. And you can put it on your Craftsman. So I'm going to read you the model number of the Craftsman that you may be able to use as a donor tractor. I gotta get my spectacles on because all these words, all these letters and numbers are all blurry. The Craftsman model under the seat would be 917-289630. Now I'm sure there's some other tractors where this might apply, but those were the only ones I was able to find. This is the one with the plastic transmission. And how do you know if you got a plastic transmission in your tractor? You got to get down on your hands and knees and look underneath there. And if it's black plastic, it's a plastic transmission made by General Transmissions. They make a bunch of transmissions, push mowers, riding mowers. So this Husqvarna is a YTA24V48. And then we have a John Deere over here. A D105 with a plastic transmission. This transmission swap will not work on this tractor. This transmission is different. It's not going to work. Now I know I see a lot of people online always say, oh, those cheap John Deeres, they're made by MTD. No, they're made by Husqvarna makes them. No, they're made by MTD. No, this is made by John Deere. Let's get that nonsense confusion out of the way. This is made by Deere. This is different. This isn't MTD. This isn't Husqvarna. This isn't AYP. This isn't Electrolux. This is John Deere. They make this tractor to their specs. It uses that same general transmission, plastic one, but it has some differences to it. And I'm going to show you the differences. Those to go forward and reverse are pedal operated. You've got a pedal to go forward, a pedal to back up. This is different. On the right side, you got a shifter. You got neutral, forward, reverse, and then there's your go pedal. Now, I'm sure in the future there will be a way to convert one to a metal trans, but as of now, this doesn't apply. So just get that out of your head. This is different. Now, I'm going to go over these general transmissions a little bit. This one's got leaky axle seals. The transmission is filled with double-aught grease. If you don't know what that is, that's what this is. Double-aught, double-zero grease. That's what's in that transmission. If you go to General Transmission's website, they have some bulletins on there, and they show you that you can fill this. It's kind of difficult to do. But it also says if you lose some grease, it's no big deal. You don't need to fill it up. That's what they say. Now, you can get some parts, external parts. If the transmission on this plastic one is damaged internally, they even tell you, General Transmission, it is not serviceable. It needs to be replaced. You don't believe me? Go to General Transmission's website. You can look all that stuff up. Now, this one's got leaky axle seals. You can get the seals for it, but putting a set of seals in this isn't going to work because there's a ton of play in the shaft. So if I put new seals in this, it's just still going to leak out. And are you noticing why maybe this thing is leaking? I know these things got hitches on them, but these tractors aren't heavy duty enough to pull anything. These are cheap, disposable tractors. And by saying disposable, that's being nice. These are throwaways. Most people don't opt to do this transmission swap. Once I hit them with that $1,000 price tag, no, they end up junking them. So that's not going to be fixed. Now, we're going to do a future video on one of these general transmissions, probably on this Aaron's. And we're going to show you some stuff that you can do to it to possibly keep it going if you got the plastic trans. But that'll be in a future video. But for now, we're going to swap it out with this K46 Bachman-Turner BT transmission, which we got from our friends at Tuff Torq. I called up my friends over there at Tuff Torq, told them what I was doing. They sent me a brand new transmission. But we need a bunch of other parts to do this swap. And when we get all the parts together, I'm going to string it up on that lift like I'm skinning a deer or skinning an elk or skinning an elk skins. I know if I tried to skin him, he'd just laugh and giggle. Yeah, that knife's tickling me as you're skinning me alive. And we're going to swap it out, and we're going to put that transmission in there. So the reason I got these wheels off is I just want to show you the frame, how the frame is. This has got the K46. This transmission and all its components, if this tractor was bad, I would be able to put into that tractor. I got the wheel off to kind of show you how the mounts and everything go. It's kind of it's not a real easy swap. I've never done one before. This will be my first one. But I've been told it can be done by Scot at Tuff Torq. He's helping me with this. Hi, Scot. How you doing? Say hi to Derek, too, over there at Tuff Torq. Okay? So we'll get these tractors out. We'll get that one strung up. And we'll swap it out. See if it works. Well, I got the mower prepped. I'm going to stand this thing up like we're skinning a deer or an elk skins. Sometimes I like to skin that elk skins alive. So I took the battery out. I jerked the deck off, took the hood off, put a bag over the gas cap, underneath the gas cap, so we don't get any fuel to leak out. Now, you may not have this setup like I have where I can stand the mower up. You may have to lay on the ground and do it or flip it on its side. But I've got this lift, which makes it easier for us to film and everything with it. So I'm going to go ahead and take the wheels off and drop it on the ground so I could stand it up. Now, you're going to have to use these clips over on the new transmission. These E-clips or C-clips, whatever you want to call them. And you're going to use some of these washers. So look at how bad this one is with the 0 grease leaking out. We're going to need the keys. But I do have the part numbers for the washers and the spacers. We're going to go over all them parts. But again, these axle shafts, there's a lot of play in them. So even though this transmission is still working, like I said earlier, putting new seals in it isn't going to fix this. And then I'll go ahead and raise it up, stand it up so we can take the transmission out, start to put the new one in. Well, let's go over all the parts that I had to get so we can do this swap. Well, here's the transmission, which we got from our friends at Tuff Torq. This is the K46 BT, Bachman Turner. There's no overdrive. This is the K46 BT. And then we need a whole bunch of other parts. And I've made a list. So here's the list. Service kit bracket. Now there's different numbers. So when you go to look some of this stuff up, the numbers change. So that's why I put both numbers if it had multiple numbers. But this is the service kit bracket. And this, we're going to have to tap these holes or put self-tappers in there. But that goes there. Then we've got the front trans mount. Now these are as of May of 2025 prices. Here's the front trans mount. There's the part numbers. That's this bracket here. That's going to mount to the other bracket we're going to put on there. Control rod. That's this part here. This is the one that goes to the pedal. Makes it go forward and reverse. There's the part numbers. The belt guide. Again, we're going to have to tap that or put a self-tapping bolt in there. There's the boss for it. Not Bruce Springsteen. The other boss. That goes there. Kind of helps hold the belt. The belt kind of lays on here. And what else do we got? Here's the drive belt. That's going to go from the engine to the transmission. That's the size, 1/2 by 92. There's the original part numbers if you want to get the OEM or if you want to get it aftermarket. Mine's like $1 more. Okay, bypass rod. That's this. That's so you can pull on that, so you can make it freewheel. And then the brake rod. This is the brake rod. So we can put the brakes on. That would go here. And there's the part number for the brake rod and the price. And then we needed the brake spring. Again, if you got a donor tractor, these parts are going to be on there. Now, we took those other washers off, but I went ahead and ordered the washers anyway. So the inner washer is what they have as a hardened washer. Now I know, here they are. So here's the hardened washer. You can tell it's a different color. Because it's hard. And that hardened washer goes on here. And then you got to have these spacers. And there's the spacer. Axle spacer. You're going to need 2 of those. And that's going to go on there like that. Then you're going to put your wheel on, because you don't want this, you don't want to do it this way, because this is going to go into the seal and it's going to ruin the seal. That's why you got to have this hardened washer than this. Now some of these will have 2 washers on the outside or just 1 on the outside. This is the other washer, which I got 4 of. Money's here. And then you could slide this other washer on there, put the wheel on with the key, and then the one on the outside and the clip, and then you can put the dust cap on there. So these are the parts you're going to need to do this. And if you total all this up, with shipping and that, figure it's going to be close to $1,000 to do this conversion. But you know what I'm hearing a lot from my customers that come in? They tell me this. You know what? I put the $1,000 into it because it's still cheaper than buying another mower. And my mower's in good shape, and I like my mower. So yeah, I'll do it. I'll spend the money. Now, if we were to do this, you know, then there's going to be labor attached to it. So, of course, it's going to be more. But the labor shouldn't be that much. What, maybe $100 and some, $200. So for $1,200, you got a nice tractor. You want to get rid of that plastic trans, do this conversion. You know, it might be worth it. But that's what I hear. A lot of people are spending the money and putting them into their older mowers, because what do you get now for $2,200? $1,000 tractor used to be $1,000. Now they're like $2,200, and they're crappy. They're a piece of junk. All right, enough of that. Let me get off my soapbox and let's get started on putting this transmission in. Okay, I got this thing stood up, and of course it's leaking some gas. So I put a container underneath it to kind of help catch it. But one thing I did notice is it's got this bracket underneath here. And this is a stabilizer bar for the mower deck. And looking at the bracket, I looked up, you know, there's no hole in there for that. So let's find out if we could use this over. Now again, let me reiterate, I've never done this before. I've been told this can be done. So We're all going through this together. You and me, holding hands, walking down the trail that hasn't been mowed because the plastic transmission went out. And we're going to try to get this fixed. So let's just get this transmission out of here. So I'm going to put the parking brake on because that'll take the tension off this belt. Okay, so now we got that loose. And then I'm going to go ahead and disconnect. This is for the parking brake. No, I don't want to disconnect that. No, what am I doing, Taryl? What are you doing, Taryl? Well, you had said you haven't done this before. Let's get the belt off. Let's take it off of here. Get it loose. All right, now I'm going to take the parking brake off. All right, the belt's somewhat loose. Let me get it, fish it through here a little bit. All right, it's loose. So now this is loose. I'm going to pull that welcome back cotter pin out of there. And the washer, we'll take off that spring. All right. I don't want to lose any of that. Let me get something to start putting this hardware in so I don't lose it all. Then I'll go ahead and these brackets here look like they're holding the trans. I don't know what this is hooked to. Well, let's get them off. Oh, sorry, Mr. Cameraman. These are 1/2 inch self snappers. Put them over here on my tray. And I'll go ahead and take these 4 off of here. These rear. Those also look like they're 1/2 inch. I'm going to leave that bolt in. So it'll hold the transmission for me. Alright, so we got that spring loose. Now this go lever here to make it go forward and reverse, there's a little clip on top of the transmission, which I'm going to have to pop off with a screwdriver. Okay, I took a closer look at this thing, and it's going to mount like this on here. And it does have a hole in it. It just looks like it's moved over maybe 1 inch. But it does fit in there. So I think this is going to work. So I'll go ahead and remove this too. And then we'll finish taking the transmission out. Again, we're going to find out one way or another. One way or another. We're going to find out if we can swap out the plastic trans to a metal one. One way or... Stop with the singing already! Alright. This is for our reverse mow switch. Not mow like Mow Larry and Curly, like Mow Howard mow. Reverse mow. And now I can get to that that little clip that's on top of the transmission. Now you're going to need a screwdriver. And you can get down there. Now try not to damage it. I tried to find this little clip, this little push nut, they call it. I tried to find it on their website for general transmissions, and I thought I found it, and the one I ordered was entirely different. So try not to damage this thing. And let's not lose it either. So let's stick it in there. So now that rod will come off of there. And then the only other thing we got to worry about is getting the belt off here, off the back. And then we got there's our rod, our release freewheel rod. All right, so there it is. There's that plastic transmission. Again, not going to be able to repair it. The shafts are just too wore. It's just a matter of time before it totally takes a crap. So now we need to take this off, and we need to take this off. Now if you notice, we got all these extra pulleys under here. We're going to leave this one. We're going to eliminate this one. Now we got to find out where the end of this is, because this is going to be tricky. Okay, so these panels here on the side, they just looks like there was a bolt or something in there at one time, but you just push them up and they pop out. Now I can see in there a little better. Once I see where this thing is going, then we'll try to get in there with the camera. Okay, I see where it goes. So since this is for the brake, it goes to the brake arm. We're going to take this off from here. And then there's a tab under here. I don't know if he could see. I'm going to get a light for him, for our cameraman. And I don't know if he could see where my finger is down there. There's a self-tapping screw right here that holds this bracket that's got the end of this rod attached to it for the brake. So I may be able to reach in there and undo this. Looks like a 5/16 self-tapping bolt. So I may be able to get in there and loosen that up and take this whole assembly off. I was able to remove that 5/16 self-tapper from there, and I'm removing this carriage bolt, and there's that part I was telling you about. So I'll just stick this back in here, just in case this doesn't work and I got to put it all back together. Now we have to get this one out. So let me get my light and figure out what's going on back here. Where is this? Where is that hooked to? Now there's a lot of buildup under here because this grass likes to pack itself. Okay. So it's right here. Let me see if we could turn this so you could see. Can you see that where my finger is, Mr. Cameraman? This is a clip. This isn't a welcome back cotter pin. So if I push on the tip of it right here with a punch or a screwdriver, this clip will pop out of there. Now you got to be careful. You don't want to lose this. So I got a screwdriver on it and I got my finger behind there to catch it. Because I don't want to lose this thing. And you got to have octopus fingers, tentacle-like fingers, but that's what it is. That's what's holding that thing in place. First time I saw one of these, I thought it was a welcome back cotter pin. And then I found out it was this. And I thought, oh, okay. You just pop that thing out. So that's another thing we don't want to lose, so we're going to stick that in the tray. Now I can remove this. All right. Now, I need to get this belt off of here. And we're going to have to remove the clutch for that. So let me get a 5/8 socket. I got a lot of buildup under here. Uh-oh. You know who's calling? Money's calling. And they're wireless. I hear ya! She's annoying sometimes. All right, already! All right, I removed the clutch bolt. Now let's get the clutch off. There we go. I still got the wire hooked up. Which I should have probably disconnected first, because I don't want it to hang from the wires. And then, you know, you got to make sure you get this, when you reassemble it, this is your anti-rotation device. This keeps the clutch from spinning when you kick it on, because I see people, they take these clutches off and they put them back on, and they don't get that thing set back with that anti-rotation device. And the clutch spins around and rips the wires out. And we've got a video that shows you how to fix them when that happens. And I don't want this to hang by the wires. I should have disconnected the wire first. Help me, Mr. Help me! Help me, Mr. Cameraman! I should have disconnected it first, knucklehead. I cut a zip tie. All right. There we go. This is more work than I anticipated, Taryl. I don't think I want to do this transmission swap. Okay. Now that I can get in there, I'm going to clean out all this grass that's under here. Because this is a mess. But hey, what are you going to do? Blowing it off with a leaf blower isn't going to help this problem. This stuff just gets packed up in there. So the original belt is 101 inches long. And the one we're replacing it with is only 92.5 inches long. But again, I was told this is going to work. So let's snake it up in there. And again, we're not going to use this. And remember, if you got a flat pulley, the flat part of the belt always goes against the flat pulley and the V part goes to the V part. and then this here. So we're going to be just like this. Now that looks like it's going to work, don't it, grass rats? Yeah. Looks like we're far enough down. Yeah. All right. So let's get the new trans, and I just want to mock it up just to see how it's going to sit in there before I go hooking up the brake rod and the pedal rod. So now I need to put these brackets on. Now since we're taking a bunch of stuff off of here that we're not going to use, we're going to have some of these 5/16 self-tapping screws left over. Here's one. Here's one. So I'm going to spray a little bit of our gel lube on there, which we sell in our online store, because this works good as a tapping compound, I found out. Now I got to find my ratchet wrench. Where did it go? Here it is. Because I was using it on that other thing. So we can make some threads in there. And if I can get it down far enough, I can use the ratchet wrench to drive it in the rest of the way. Because that pulley's in the way, it's going to be kind of hard to get in there with a tap. All the way down. Now I only want to loosen it up so much because I don't want this ratchet wrench to get stuck in there. Then we'd have to pull the pulley off to get it out. Now I also need to tap this hole and this hole. So I'll do the same thing. Okay, I got the transmission ready to go in. This is for our reverse Mo switch. Not to be confused with Mo Howard from the Three Stooges. Got the release lever. And if you notice, there's a keyhole in here for that lever. There's two of them. And one is for this. So let me get that in there. And let me get one of these bolts just to kind of hold it for me. And another one over here. Uh-oh. I got it in the wrong holes here. Yeah, let me move them over one. There we go. There's multiple holes in here. So obviously this thing will fit a bunch of different tractors. I got the release in there. And it looks like everything's going to line up as far as the belt. But since we don't have the brake lever, you know, to release the tension for this, but I think the parking brake thing is still, yeah. So let me set the brake. That'll make the belt a little longer. All right, I'm going to pull one of these bolts out so I can lift it up, get it around the fan, the plastic fan. Let's get this out of our way. And I can put the bolt back in. Whoa, that's the thing, I don't have it bolted in yet. All right. And these bolts look like they'll be long enough to reuse. And I need to get that around there and around there. Okay, so the belt is loose. Now let me release the parking brake and see if the belt gets tight. I wonder if we could get away with, because it's putting some kind of tension on it. Not as much as I would like. Because originally this belt went over here like this. Let's try something here. We put the brake back on. Is it still loose enough if we put it over here and use that pulley? Yeah, it still seems like it's pretty loose. So I don't think we need to eliminate that. I think we could do it the same way. Because the belt is still loose. And now when I release it, oh yeah, it's a lot tighter now. I think that'll work. Everything seems to be in line. It's a little bit off, but I think it'll work. We'll find out. All right. So now we just need to put our brake rod and our pedal rod in there. And then we could see if it'll do like it's supposed to do. Let's check this bracket here. This was the old bracket. Yeah, of course, that's too far away. All right, I'm going to tighten these down just to hold it in place. And we'll go from there. Okay, I got this tightened down, and I noticed this belt guide here that I bolted on there. It's kind of close to the belt, but now that we've ran it over this way, it's not even touching that. There's some wiggle room on this thing here. So I'm gonna try to loosen that. Well, I don't have to loosen it. I could probably just kick it over, because there is some play over here against, you know, there's some room against here. So I could kick it over some, and yeah, see, because we don't want the belt to rub. So I kicked it over as far as it'll go. See, now there's some room in there. And I'm sure I'm going to have to maybe take this back out, this trans, before I go and put those parking brake rod and the pedal rod in there. Now let me get this front engine mount bracket and see how that's going to mount up. Okay, I've got this bracket and it looks like it's going to fit. I'll have to loosen these again. There's some wiggle room in there. But it lines up, and it also lines up with one of the old holes here that mount to the frame. And like I said, this sway bar will go in there. And that should work when we go to hook the deck back up. Now for the reverse mow, this wire is zip tied to here, and there is a plug back here where you can disconnect it, and it's got the same connection on it. So I will be able to plug this reverse mow switch back in. So I can take this off. And these, again, just self-tapper them in. Now that I lost the bolt. So I can put a self-tapper in here. So again, I'll put my gel lube on there as a tapping compound, and I'll drive these screws in. And we'll be able to put this mount on. All right, we're getting there. All right, now let's see if this is going to work. So we have to hook it over that pin in there, underneath here, the one that we had that little clip, And then the other end goes here, down here. So let me get it on there. And I'll move the pedal. There we go. Okay, that looks like it's going to work, like it's in the right spot. Pedal looks like it's in the right position. There's reverse, and there's forward. So that's going to work. Well, it just popped off because I don't have it secured yet. There we go. It's going all the way forward as far as it can go. And it's going back. It's hitting that reverse. You can hear that reverse switch. Reverse mow switch. All right, so let's see about the parking brake. So this is the parking brake rod. Oh, I dropped the spring. This is the parking brake rod. And this spring would hook in here. And then this would hook on the end of that. And then this hooks up underneath here for the parking brake. But it's about, see, I don't have the parking brake engaged because I got tension on the belt. I've got the parking brake released. And it's got to go up here, which you can't see, but we'll show it to you because there's a welcome back cotter that's got to come out of there. And it looks like we might be about 1 inch away. So we're going to have to come up with something that's going to fill that gap. Otherwise, if we just do it like this, the brake is going to be on all the time. So we're going to have to come up with a solution for that. But that's no big deal. All right. So I guess I can go ahead and put this clip on. And get that screwdriver that I had. Push it on there. All right, it's on there. It went on pretty easy. I think maybe I should squeeze it some. Or if you don't feel comfortable using that clip, you could always shove a cotter pin in there. I'm going to squeeze it to put more tension on it, so I'm going to pop it back out. This clip seems kind of weak, and when I tried to squeeze it to put more tension on it, look at that, it already wants to break. You know what it is? From pushing on the pedal, it's starting to wear through. So you're not going to want to use this thing over. Just get a welcome back cotter pin and stick it in there. That's what I'm going to do. Put a cotter pin in there. I feel a lot better if I do it that way. Don't you agree? So that brake rod has got to hook onto the end of this rod here. So I got to remove this welcome back cotter pin and take that washer off, and then we could slide that other brake rod on there, because this is the brake rod, see? See it moving? Now the parking brake's engaged because of the way I got it sitting. But that's what we have to do. That's going to be the hardest part probably. It's trying to get that cotter pin out of there. So this panel, just like on the other side, you just slide it back and it comes off. So now you could see the back end of it. Can you see my finger in there? Because that's where that cotter pin is, right there. Now, if you're going to try to do this on probably one of them Craftsmans that I mentioned, You're probably not going to have them side panels that are going to come off. Might be a little more difficult to get to this. But I'm going to try to bend those up, and I have what's called a cotter pin puller. So I'm going to try to take some needle nose pliers and bend the end of the cotter pin up as much as I can. And then I think if I get in there with that cotter pin puller, I can snatch that cotter pin out of there. So you're going to need a pair of these long extended needle nose. You can get in there. You can kind of grab the ends of the cotter pin. Well, I could grab one end. The other end I may have to get with a screwdriver, I think. I think I can get it with one of these long bladed screwdrivers. Yeah. I just got to bend it some, and then that cotter pin puller should be able to get it the rest of the way. Again, I think this is probably going to be the hardest part. There we go. I know it's hard to see on camera here. All right. See, I got it pretty straight. Now let me get that cotter pin puller. This is a cotter pin puller. This was a Craftsman one. I don't even know if they still make this. Maybe they make something similar online that you can buy. But I remember I bought this back in 1985. Wow! I remember buying this because that's when I had this job at this factory, and that was one of the tools on the tool list that you had to have, was one of these. All right, we got it. I got her out. But it helped that I kind of squeezed it. I'll put a new one in there. Now I got to get that washer off of there, which I need a magnet on a stick. You know what a magnet. What's a magnet on a stick? It's a magnet on a stick. It's telescopic. Hello? Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm doing the video. Right. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's top secret. All right, I gotta go. It's also a little two-way radio. We'll have to use that magnet on a stick in a blade man and throttle. We haven't done a blade man and throttle in a while. I'll have to do one of them. So here's that washer. You don't need that. And then the brake rod. Is this in the right? So we want to make sure. Yeah, this is going to be right with the bend right here. And then we're going to add some length to this, and I got an idea what I can do for that. So you're going to need a lot of cotter pins, which I didn't anticipate in my little list. And again, you're going to need those long-handled needle nose. So you can grab it. Let me straighten out the end of this one. The cotter pin I got, it's not as big as in diameter. I got to get some more cotter pins. I got to get a better cotter pin assortment. That one's a little thin. I'd rather use this thicker one. Like being a surgeon. Like a surgeon. Touch for the very first time. Like a sturgeon. The This is going to be the tricky part. All right. Because it's not like a straight shot. There we go. All right, I got it in there. Now I got to get over here and bend it. Bend the ends of the cotter. Like I told you, grass rats, this is probably the hardest part right here, is getting in here to do this. There's that long screwdriver. I'm not going to do that, Taryl. I'd rather watch you struggle. All right, I used a long screwdriver to kind of spread that cotter. Now you don't have to bend it all the way around. You can just bend it enough so it's not going to come out. Now I'm going to push on the pedal to make sure it's not going to interfere the ends of the cotter. And it's not interfering with nothing. So I just splayed it out. I put the cotter pin in there and then I just splayed it out like that. It's not going to fall out. And if it does, it's probably because it wore through. And then you just go and put another cotter pin in there. Okay. Now, got the spring and we've got this distance here. Now I think I've got an idea where I could take up the space here. There's a couple of things. I've done this before on other things. Let me gather up my stuff and then we'll go over that. Okay, I think this will work to take up the slack. This, I don't know, what do they call this? A D-ring or something? Even though it's in the shape of an O. The O-ring. I think we can do this and make this work. Let's see. Oh yeah. And I just got to put a washer on there and another cotter pin. But let's just mock it up. Mock it up, mock it up, mock it up. And then let me hit the brake pedal. Yep. There we go. Ha ha ha, there's your dinner. Another thing I was thinking that I could have used was a link out of a chain. You know, out of a piece of chain. If you had a link that was big enough to fit over this. And then you would just have to pry open the end of this to get the link of the chain over it. But I didn't have a piece of chain with a link that was big enough in the center to fit over that. So I thought, well, what about this keychain thing? See, you got to think. A lot of times you got to think outside the trailer or the mobile home or the caravan or whatever you call it. Let me find a washer to shove over that so that key ring, D-ring thing doesn't fall off. Okay, I'm going to reuse this cotter pin that I took out from up there, and I'm going to put it in from the back side because I don't want these little legs, because this thing, you know, does have play in it, and I don't want those little legs from the cotter pin to come into contact with the belt, because it could chew it up, because these are kind of sharp edges here. And then we'll bend it. Make sense? All right, now all I got to do is put this bracket on now. Put the wheels on. Put the clutch back on. And then we'll lay it on its face. And then we'll see if it'll work. So this is the old wire for the reverse mow that I took off. And here's the new one I installed. And the new one also had one of these clips that plugs into the frame to hold it in place, which I stuck right here. So it's out of the way and I got it plugged in. I've got these self-tapered in. I'm going to loosen these 2 bolts to kind of get it aligned. And I'm short 1 self-snapper. But you got to remember, these are already tapped. So I can just get a regular 5/16 bolt and put it, you know, put it in place of that. Because I need one on the other side. We're almost done. We're nearing the finish line, grass rats. Let me loosen this up a little. So we got a little bit of play, a little movement. Let me stick the other 2 bolts in. But yeah, see, we got some wiggles room in there. And I already tapped these. So they'll go in. And that'll go in there. And I'll just get one for the other side. And then we'll go ahead and tighten all 4 of these transmission mounting bolts up. We'll put the wheels on. So when you reinstall the clutch, there's a notch on each side of this. So you want to make sure you reinstall the clutch correctly with the wires to the outside here. And this one was Loctited on there. So I'm going to put some blue Loctite on there, which we sell this thread Loctite, or this thread locker in our online store. I need to quit calling it Loctite because that's a name brand. Thread locker. Get yourself some. So I'm going to put some Never Sees or some Never Sleeves. And again, we sell this in our online store too. This is the non-metallic. Because, you know, sometimes these rims will rust to the axle depending on where people keep their mowers. And we don't want that to happen. So we'll sleeve them up. Now I can put the wheels on. Okay, so I ended up ordering 4 of these washers, which I didn't need. All I needed was the spacers. So I could have used the washers over from the plastic trans, because it did have a washer here, and it did have a washer on the outside. So there's your 4 washers. So you need a washer here, the sleeve, then the wheel, then a washer on the outside because that holds that dust cap, and then your clip. So hey, you got to watch the video all the way to the end, otherwise you're going to buy 4 washers you didn't need and you're going to be mad. Taryl told me to buy them washers and I didn't need them. So I got this wheel on and I put the other one on, but I want to clean it first because look at how nasty it is from all that gear lube. Then I'll set it back down on all 4 wheels. I got to put the battery back in. And then we'll see if it'll work. Okay, we're ready to see if this thing works or if it's going to burn up the belt or whatever is going to happen. So as always, we have to do what Elkins says, and that's fire it up, fire it up, fire it up. Shut up, Elkins! You can get this sticker on our online store. The Fire It Up sticker. Alright, Taryl, fire it up. Okay, Elkskins. I'm going to put you where you belong in the cup holder. They told me it would work. I never doubted them. See with the shifty eyes? That means I'm doubting them. No. I figured it would work. It looked like it might work. And it worked. So, there you go. That wasn't too bad, was it? You're probably thinking, hey, that was bad. That was a lot of work and a lot of money. But hey, it works. This tractor is still in good condition. The deck and everything is good. We just got to give it a bath, tune it up for the customer, and hey, it's still cheaper than buying another one of them, which probably isn't going to last, and then having to put that in there because he's got that hitch on the back, and I know he's been pulling stuff with it. He said he's got a boat that he moves around on his property. So that's probably what, kind of ruined these axle seals, because I haven't seen them leak too bad. But again, if you go to General Transmission's website, they have a lot of information about them transmissions on there. And as far as the axle seal replacement, they tell you if some of the 00 grease, because it's a double, like Jethro. Remember Jethro Bodine? He was a double knot spy, which means 00. He just didn't have a number after it. So that double knot grease that they put in there, they said if some of it leaks out and you replace the seals, don't try to refill it. You don't have to. There should be enough in there, but that's what they say. Can they be trusted? I don't know. Can you trust the General? I don't know. But you saw it. It works. We got it in there. I don't smell the belt burning or anything. It's got the same amount of speed as the other transmission. And it works, and I think this customer is going to be happy that we converted it to metal. Hopefully you can get another 10 or 15 years out of this machine for the money it's going to cost them. And yeah, there you go. If you want to swap, donor tractor would be the cheapest way. But if not, you got to spend the money. That's what you got to do. I gave you all the part numbers and everything. So follow me with your plastic transmissions. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Go to our web store. Get some of the products that I showed that we use. We use that stuff in the shop all the time. They're good products. Get them. Maybe there's something there for you. Or maybe you want the elkskin sticker. Or this. Get it, boy! Get it! Woo! We haven't heard that getter. We didn't hear too many people racing around today. And get this spark plug necklace. There's all kinds of stuff. There's something there for you. Something there for you, grass rat. You're a grass rat now. Got this too. Tattoo. Look at that. I wish I had bigger muscles. I'm 64 years old. I'm losing muscle mass. I'm trying to work out. 12 ounces at a time. And as always, there's your dinner. Woo! We did the swap and it worked. I just gotta put the deck back on, put the hood back on, and then we'll start on another video. Next week, there'll be another one. Stay tuned.